All right, guys. So today's video is going to be on the daily life in medieval Europe, lesson 2, and you will find this on pages 299 and 302 in your textbook. So we're going to get started. It shouldn't take you too long. Make sure that you guys are writing down these notes, that you're not screenshotting them, because if you want full credit, you need to have them written down, either pen or pencil. And you can write them down on the back of your homework assignment page. In fact, that's what I prefer, so then you can just turn it in all at the same time. So write it down on the back of your homework page. Okay, so here is the beginning. So, manor system. Now that we have a feudalism going at full strength, you're going to have all these lords with different power and different strengths and different, different goals. And so you're going to have a bunch of little feudal systems going across all of Europe, since there's not like one big king or one huge leader that's going to tell everybody what to do. So Europe is now divided into small sections, and they're going to be controlled by these nobles. They're going to have their feudal system in place. They're going to have their vassals. They're going to have their knights, which we'll talk about a little bit later. They're going to have their serfs, which is another word for slaves. So this is going to be working. And a manor is basically, that is where your noble lord lives. And usually at the center of the manor is a house or a castle with walls surrounding it. And usually people who are working on the manor, or the land, if you would like to call it, basically live within the castle boundaries. Most of the manor is farmland, but at the center you do have where the family lives, where the lord lives, where his wife lives, children, so forth, and serfs live somewhere near the center, obviously, because they need to work the land, or sometimes they live farther away on the land of the Lord, but not too far. So basically, that is what this manor system is. Basically, serfs were bound to the land, or bound to the soil, as they were called to. Serfs were pretty much, they could not leave the land. Even if the lord was to die and a new lord would take over, they are still bound to that land, because that is what they gave up. This freedom for protection. Because everybody's afraid to leave. There's Vikings that are going around pillaging, killing people. There's other barbarians coming in. So basically, they're going to be tied to that land and work. Now, since people are afraid to leave their manor, a lot of things are basically created on the manor land, such as food, such as wine, such as weapons, goods. So pretty much nobody left. Nobody traded. Sometimes people didn't even talk to each other. You just kind of just stayed in your own little area and pretty much your own little world. And that's how the manor system worked, because it was pretty chaotic out there. And that's why these Middle Ages are also known as Dark Ages. People are just afraid to go out because there's something might happen to them. And that's pretty much how the manor system works. Now, the age of chivalry. Knights. A knight is pretty much a noble, but is not a high-ranking noble. Usually it's a lesser noble who would fight for higher-ranking nobles. And basically, you have so many nobles with so many manors, having so many rules, there's going to be disagreements. So what they would do is they would hire these knights, just like samurais would be hired in Japan, to fight for disagreements for these lords. If there was problems. Some of them were battles, some of them were wars. But there were definitely skirmishes. Now, in order to become a knight, you needed to live by a certain code, a chivalry code, which means you must, number one, defend the Catholic Church. Obviously, that's important. You must protect women and the weak. You must have courage and fight for injustice. So, as you see, as the samurai would follow the prosciutto, basically, this is what knights would follow in Europe. So, knights, noblemen who are fighting for other noblemen, but they also live by a particular code, and that's pretty much going to be their life in what they want. So this is the manor system. This is how they deal with disagreements with the manor system. Yes, there was lots of battles. Sometimes there was storming of castles. Sometimes there was open field attacks. It would vary from place to place. We'll talk about how you attack a castle probably later on, either this week or next week. But this is pretty much the age of fighting in the Middle Ages and Dark Ages. Now, towns will start to come back into play again in 1000 AD. People start to feel safe because nobles and their manors are starting to build stability. They're starting to create armies. And basically, what's happening is they're driving out the invaders. So people are starting to look to travel and to trade to either other manors or other marketplaces. Now, towns are going to start to develop again. But keep in mind, towns are dirty, they're cramped, they're filthy. There's a lot of diseases, there's a lot of fungus, a lot of bacteria. It's not the most cleanest place to be. And of course, in the middle of your town, you're going to have a church because right now, the only thing people believe in the feudal system is God. They don't believe in anything else. People are not reading, people are not going to school, people are not learning. The only thing you're learning about is God. And we'll talk more about that probably tomorrow in class. There were houses built in these towns. However, the houses were built out of wood, so they caught fire a lot. A lot. And I do stress the word a lot. So since basically they weren't built to last, so a lot of them burned down. Oh, sorry. Guilds. Now, guilds, these are kind of basically organizations that people would join uh, who had the same jobs in these towns. These jobs are usually bakers, they're weavers, there's dyers. For those of you that don't know what a dyer is a person that dyes clothes. So basically, what guilds would do is they looked out for these workers and employees so that people can find a job if they're one of these trades, and also to keep track of the how much product they make as well as the quality of the product, because you have to understand this. They're not making much money, they're not getting much recognition. So they know if they just work really, really, really hard, they're probably not going to get paid that much. They're probably not going to get ahead. So it's an economic thing. They made sure, okay, let's not make too much bread. Let's not weave too much. Let's make sure that we are keeping aligned with how much we should be making, because obviously you guys know what we talked about earlier, supply and demand. The more supply you have, the less demand there is, so that means you're not going to be making any money. So you want to control the amount of products you're making so that the price can stay either fair or high. And so these guilds are kind of like unions, like what they are today, where they're protecting workers, making sure workers actually can get a job, and they're protecting the integrity of whatever they're making. Because you don't want somebody coming in who's a baker who decides to kind of like not bake bread very well, or use bad quality of ingredients or food, then charge high prices, because it then gives all other bakers in the town a bad name. So they're kind of like a little police watch force, making sure people have jobs, making sure people are safe and protected, as well as, you're making a fair product, selling it for a fair price. So we are going to talk more about this tomorrow, but that is it for today.